Mr. Chikata then asked the court to adjourn the application to Thursday, July 6, 2023, by which time they would have handled other related court issues and have the accused in court. Deputy Attorney General Alfred Yeboah, who did not object to the request by the defense, said the state was aware of the pending ceremony in Parliament and considered it a national assignment. Justice Mary Yanzu granted the request and subsequently adjourned the hearing of the application to Thursday, July 6. Lawyers for James Jachikwason are contesting a ruling of the High Court allowing daily trial. They described the decision of the court as errors of law. His affidavit also said the ruling of the court had taken a political turn.
We are going to argue the motion out. Don't forget that today would have been the arguments, but this has been adjourned to the 6th. We intend to put in a strong case. We are not afraid of the trial. What we don't want is for the state to use its might to re-rule the process so that our client will go to jail. We want the processes to be fair. We are not saying that we won't come and stand trial, but for the daily hearings, that is what we are against. And no criminal in this country, an accused person rather, has been brought to court every day. Why should it be crazy?
The Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice says it has observed with serious concern the increased tendency for various persons, including members of the legal profession of considerable standing, to run extremely prejudicial commentary on cases pending before the courts. A statement signed by the Attorney General, Mr. Godfrey Yeboah, on Wednesday morning, noted that while respecting the freedom of all persons in Ghana to comment on any matter, including cases pending in courts, the recent commentary on many of the so-called high-profile criminal cases transgresses permissible limits of free speech.
Cases which have been the subject of public commentary include the Republic versus James Jachikwason, the Republic versus Dr. Stephen Opuni and 2 others, and the Republic versus Kaisel Atuforsen and 2 others. The Attorney General reminds Ghanaians of the principle of equality of all persons before the law, enshrined in Article 17(1) of the Constitution, which provides that no person living in Ghana, citizen or non-citizen, is above the laws of Ghana. The statement says the Attorney General's constitutional responsibility for the initiation and conduct of all prosecutions of criminal offences implies a duty to prosecute a crime committed in Ghana after proper investigations have been conducted, irrespective of the political, race, colour, ethnic, religious, economic and social status of the culprit. The statement further says state attorneys assisting the Attorney General in the performance of this hallowed constitutional mandate operate under extreme pressure and are exposed to severe risk. They have the right to prosecute cases freely in a court of law, just as private legal practitioners enjoy a right to defend their clients free from abuse and attacks on their character. The decision to prefer a charge against an accused person is not made on the basis of a person's political status, social or economic standing, but on the strength of evidence subject to the scrutiny of the courts. An acquittal of a person by the courts does not imply malice on the part of the Republic in the filing of a charge. The perception that a crime committed by a person of high political standing in society should not be prosecuted is dangerous for society and must not be countenanced. Mr. Yeboah observes that many of the recent comments by various persons on some criminal matters, particularly those mentioned earlier, clearly exceed the bounds of acceptable speech as they seek to disparage prosecutors in the eyes of the public and frustrate prosecution of those cases. Some of the comments are orchestrated to pervert the course of justice and or prejudice the fair hearing and determination of the cases. The Attorney General finally cautions that no immunity is conferred by a person's position in Parliament, the judiciary, traditional authority, the bar, or any official position from the consequences of an interference in the administration of justice or an attempt to overreach a judgment to be delivered by the court in any matter.
The vetting of presidential hopefuls is underway at the NPP headquarters in Accra. Mr. Boakye Jakun, a former energy minister, Mr. Kwame Japon, a former NPP general secretary, and Mr. Kwabna Kennedy Ejapon, the member of parliament for Asin Central, will be at the meeting. A statement issued by the secretary to the National Presidential Vetting Committee, Mr. Evans Nimaku, indicated that the remaining candidates would be vetted on July 5 and 6 respectively. The NPP will, however, hold a special congress on August 26, 2023 to elect 5 candidates for the November 4 primaries. We are joined on the phone lines by political marketing strategist Mr. Chris Atadika to share some thoughts with us on the developments. Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon to you.
Right, thank you. And now vetting is underway. In your opinion, what indicators should be the guiding principles for the vetting committee?
Okay, thank you very much. I believe vetting is a part of the electoral process. It gives the aspirants the opportunity to answer to the content of the documents that they file. And also, it helps the party scrutinize the aspirants to ascertain their readiness to be candidates to contest for the election. So, I mean, we've had 3 that have been vetted yesterday. We are having 3 being vetted today, and then the 5th and the 6th, as you indicated. So, for now, I do not see any of the aspirants being removed or disqualified from the process, even though we have had some very unfortunate cases by some of the aspirants who are part of the process. Like, for example, Honorable Kennedy Ejapon is on record to have said that he doesn't know why he's part of the NPP party and that members of the party are daft. And so I don't know the criteria of the vetting committee, but for most vetting processes, if you are part of an association and you put the association in bad light, or you do not give it the reputable status that the association has by your activities or statements that you make, it is grounds to be disqualified when you put yourself to be a leader of that particular association. So obviously, that can also be a factor. They will check your dedication and service to the party, whether you have been involved in any activity that has brought the party in bad light. Also, I mean, with regards to your documents that you submitted, some background checks will be done by the vetting committee to be sure whether everything that you have submitted is a true representation of your person as an aspirant to the process.
Right. Now, how would you assess the chances of those who were vetted Sorry about that. How would you assess the chances of those who were vetted yesterday, that is the Vice President and Mr. Alan Tremantin, and those of today, Boakye Jakun, Kwame Japon, and Kennedy Ejapon?
So, out of the 11 aspirants, we have 3 of them who have this process not being new to them. You have the Honorable Kennedy, the Honorable Alan Tremantin, the Honorable Kwame Japon, and also Mr. Boakye Jakun, who have been at this before. So they obviously would have some experience in this vetting process. Dr. Baumia, the current Vice President, and the others who are new to this particular context are the ones who might have this as a new experience for them. So hopefully, we are hoping to see what happens. And looking at the statutes in the NPP party, where if those aspiring are more than 5, then there's going to be a super delegate conference to decide the top 5 who will then be brought to the entire delegate consideration.
Right. Now, the party will hold a special congress on August 26 to elect 5 out of the 10 aspirants who will stand for the November 4 primaries. Will this arrangement not defeat the purpose of democracy and fuel rancor in the rank and file of the party?
In fact, from a political marketing perspective, this superdelegate provision in the MPP constitution is very undemocratic because every voter is a voter. We do not have any special voters who are different from the entire voter base.
Right.
You see, so why should a group sieve out from the many and then, now present a few of them for the consideration of the others? You see, in my opinion, it's not right. I can understand the cost implications of that. That is why the party will do that. Probably having more than 20 people on the list and then having to print ballot papers with all of them there. I can understand the cost implication, but that is what it is. Democracy is expensive. So if you want proper representation of what the people want as their leader, you should go beyond just saying we have a super delegate. Every delegate is a delegate. In fact, one of the things we have advocated for is that we need to broaden the voter base or the electoral base of these kind of internal party elections. Why can't we have a situation where all card-bearing members of the MPP are those who vote for their leader, and then we have polling station executives, constituency executive, regional executive, and then the national executive, with some selected individuals like the MPs selecting who becomes their next leader. So this conversation should be had. If I'm not mistaken, I believe before 2007, we didn't have polling station executives being a part of the delegate list. But MPP as a party being known, as known for expanding their electoral base, should also be having a conversation around this, where now all card-bearing members should be given the opportunity. So to me, the superdelegate is not a true representation of what the people would want. In fact, look at those who make up the superdelegate. We have the hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go on, sir.
Yes, I'm saying when you look at those who make up the superdelegates, they are just less than 10% of the entire population of members of the party. So it is so undemocratic that less than 10% would decide who is fit to be in the top 5 to be elected as the flag bearer of the party. And when that happens, it means that you are taking the power from the grassroots. Those who are in charge of the mobilization, those who ensure that at every poll, national poll, the party comes into government, or whoever becomes flag bearer becomes the president of the country. So it is very unfortunate that is a provision in the MPP constitution. And I don't think that whoever the superdelegate selects in the top 5 in terms of hierarchy is a representation of what the grassroots want for the party.
Right.
So I believe maybe time will tell.
Great.
We will see in November whether the members of the top 5 in terms of hierarchical, how in order that they come at the end of the superdelegate conference, we will see whether it would be a true representation of what the grassroots wants or not.
Yeah, Mr. Tadeka, I know the vetting is still ongoing, but would you want to take a guess as who the top 5, the lucky 5, would be at the end of 7th after the vetting process?
The top 5, okay.
Yes, let's guess.
I would look at those who have been there before, the Honorable Alan Chemantin, the Honorable Kabay Japon, and then the Honorable Japon Boache Japon also. So that's the top 3. Then we also have, because the Vice President is part of the incumbency, most likely will sail through. So we'll have Dr. Baumia and then Kennedy Ejapon. So these are my top 5 at the end of the vetting.
Okay, and what do you think, through your political lenses, is the MPP going to break the 8 with the slogan going on so far?
That is very hard to say now because, politics is full of dynamics. Anything can happen at any point in time. Currently, as we speak, the government is not in the good books of the people because the government has not been able to meet the expectations of the general citizens. So it would be hard to say that it would be, an easy call for government to say that they would break the 8. Okay. I think what the MPP needs right now is a leader who Ghanaians will see as different from this particular government. And that is why most of the polls that have come out have indicated members who are not part of this, directly part of this current regime as people that Ghanaians want to see leading this country in the next election.
Right. That'll be all for now. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the ongoing vetting process. And that was Mr. Chris Atadeka, a political marketing strategist, sharing his thoughts with us. And then let's move on to the redeveloped Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, which cost about $3.5 million, has been inaugurated today by President Akufo-Addo. The Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park is a monument of historic significance in Ghana. It was dedicated to the memory of the country's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It also serves as the resting place for the remains of the first president and his wife, Fathia Nkrumah. The park is located at the coast of Accra on the former British colonial polo grounds, where Dr. Kwame Nkrumah declared Ghana as an independent nation. The park was built by the former president, late Jerry John Rawlings, in the year 1990 in honor of Ghana's first president and as part of preserving the nation's heritage. The park was opened to the public in 1992. Since its establishment in 1992, about 98,000 visitors from all over the world each year come and pay homage to Ghana's first president, learn about his life and legacies. The park is one of the 10 most visited sites in Ghana. After 25 years of its existence, the facility had not seen any meaningful facelifts. In May last year, the Memorial Park was closed for renovation. Now, the leadership of the Prudential Bank has paid a courtesy call on the management of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation to officially introduce the newly appointed managing director of the bank and to exchange ideas on how the two organizations can work together for mutual benefits.
Prudential Bank Limited, a leading Ghanaian bank, has been in existence for 27 years. At the meeting, the administrators of the two entities discussed how they could provide special services to each other to ensure growth and improve the long-standing relations between them. The Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, sees the opportunity to speak about the various channels of GBC which are available for promotion of products and services. He also encouraged Ghanaians to live up to their civil responsibility by paying TV license fees to enable the state broadcaster to thrive.
You don't pay TV license because you watch GTV. You pay TV license to enable the public service broadcaster provide the same content you enjoy in the city to all Ghanaians resident in every corner of the country. Together we build a family of values called Ghanaian, and that is our duty, is to sell Ghana to everybody. Otherwise, if you don't, communities on the fringes of the country soon identify with values across the border, and that affects the integrity of the national community called Ghana. And that is our primary objective.
The managing director of Prudential Bank, Mr. Bernard Appiah-Jebi, said in the midst of government's domestic debt exchange program, the Prudential Bank has developed a strategy in the interest of its customers.
We have a lot of innovative products and services coming up, and between now and the end of December, you will definitely be hearing from us. We will make sure that you become the first point of call because, of course, once we have you on our side, we know that you amplify our products and services to the rest of Ghana.
The acting director of television at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Mr. George Lomoti, said as part of its 88th anniversary, the corporation is giving out discounts to its customers.
The chief executive of the Ghana National Gas Company, Ghana Gas, Dr. Ben Asante, says natural gas is Ghana's best option to climate-friendly environment. He highlighted the need to invest in tertiary institutions to enhance students' capacity in energy research as the country tries to attain its clean energy target by 2070. Dr. Ben Asante was speaking at the maiden Think Energy 2022 SDG Awards in Accra.
Ghana intends to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by at least 45% by 2030. The Paris Agreement outlines two main goals relating to the energy transition: scaling up renewable energy penetration by 10% by 2030 and scaling up 120 million standard cubic feet natural gas to replace light crude oil for electricity generation in thermal plants. Speaking at the maiden Think Energy 2022 SDGs Awards, the chief executive of the Ghana National Gas Company, Dr. Ben Asante, emphasized the need to explore cleaner energy alternatives.
As we transition from these fossil fuels to renewables, gas is undoubtedly, or should be undoubtedly, the transition fuel of choice. Based on its carbon count and cost, in Africa, we need to look within ourselves for financing the capital projects during the transition period, as well as build the requisite intellectual capital to manage the projects.
About 50 institutions and individuals were awarded with plaques and citations. SDG's Lifetime Award was presented to former President John Ajekun Kufuor, former Director of Upstream Petroleum Mr. Ben Kwame Asante, among others. Emmanuel Boaji Riafi of Asasi Radio in Accra was adjudged the Energy Media Personality of the Year. The Transition Captain of Africa 2023 award was given to Deputy Director, Power, Nuclear and Alternative Energy at the Energy Ministry, Dr. Robert Sugbaji. A special scholarship scheme was launched at the event to support researchers and other institutions in the energy sector.
There is the need to comprehensively undertake this scholarship program for our students, for our youth, to undertake climate-related courses in order to come up as champions of climate issues. That feeds into the energy needs and the energy requirements of the nation.
Some of the awardees spoke to GBC News.
Some of our tertiary educations or institutions are already been set up in that line to promote clean energy transition. So all we have to do is to make sure that we bring the other tertiary institutions on board.
The Think Energy 2022 SDGs Award is a prestigious prize designed to celebrate and honor corporate and academic institutions.
The future of the Trades Union Congress is the female gender, says TUC Secretary General Dr. Yalba, and for which reason he is calling for their support to take up positions in the leadership structure. On Monday in Accra, the TUC launched its Gender Transformative Training Manual. It is therefore encouraging all of its union groups to implement policies that encourage more women into their leadership positions.
Globally, women represent 46% of the public sector workforce. In Ghana as well, previous gender equality policies have resulted in the increasing number of women in both the formal and informal sector. Unfortunately, for leadership positions, the women gender occupies just a fraction compared to their male counterparts. In Ghana's Trade Congress Union, efforts to increase the number of women in leadership positions goes back to the early 1990s. Years later, changes were made into its constitution to reserve some positions to only women. Yet, despite these initiatives, women still occupy less than 30% in most of the positions in the union structure. Since the inception of the Trade Union Congress, no woman has ever occupied the positions of the chairperson and the secretary general. Dr. Yaoba says things have to change if the Congress will achieve its desired growth. The Gender Transformative Training Manual is expected to guide unions in all institutions in their training programs. The goal is to achieve a 50-50% of gender equality in all union structures. The manual spells out gender transformation tools, gender-related issues, and gender mainstreaming. Trade Union Congress Secretary General Dr. Yaoba says the future of the Congress is women and they must be encouraged and supported to be part of the decision-making process.
We need to create more economic opportunities for our women. That is our duty, all of us together. Whether you are in the trade union, you are an employer, or you are a worker, or whether you are in government. You need to make a conscious effort to say that we need to improve the lot of women.
A gender and development consultant, Ms. Patricia Blankson Akakbu, said the unions must be ready to accept and work with the manual for the desired outcomes.
Today shows their buy-in and commitment to ensure that the manual doesn't become something on the shelf, but is really implemented. So I think the next step is for them to train. They already have educators, they have education officers, they have industrial relation officers, and they have gender officers. They need to train them on how to use the manual.
The participants said gender inclusive must start from the homes to get the idea implanted in the minds of the children at an early stage of their lives.
There's an urgent need to rescue residents of Evere Jumorodra in the Nzima East municipality of the Western region. 5 days of continuous rainfall has brought life to a standstill in 14 communities. On Monday, school children were trapped in their schools and couldn't go home as various areas were cut off. Also, food aid is yet to reach the people. We have on the phone lines the Tufohene of Jirabanso, Nana Mwakwao, to tell us more about the situation in that particular region. Good afternoon, Nana.
Good afternoon, madam.
I understand that you went round yesterday to assess the situation. What did you gather?
Yesterday, after we closed from school, I think we experienced heavy downpour. And as a result, most of our children were behind the school. And because of that, most of them couldn't go yesterday. And they had to stay with other people just to escape from that danger.
Right. So what is the state of the children now? Have they been able to go home, or they are still taking shelter in the school?
At the moment, they came to school. So we are managing them to send them to various villages. Actually, they are not from the community. They are pizza farmers. So they are around the community. So we ask the parents to come so that they can take them alongside.
All right. So aside the state of the school children, what is the current situation of the community and then the residents?
Actually, since the rain started last 2 weeks, and as you interviewed me, the situation is worse now because it is still raining. Even around 1 to 2 o'clock, it rains everywhere here. So there hasn't been anything like we have gotten. So we are here to see if we get some people to come and help us.
Wow. Have you heard from the emergency services units like NADMO? Have you received food? Have you received clothing? Have you received anything from them so far?
So far, we have not seen anything. They came to write down their names of those who were affected. But as of now, I haven't received anything. I think one of the companies working around our area. He brought in some bag of rice and then giving to those affected. That's the only thing so far we have experienced about it. Apart from that, we have not got anything.
What about the Nzima East Municipal Assembly? What are they telling you guys?
Actually, I cannot tell. When I sent the issue to them, they said MC is not around. He has gone to US. So we are waiting for her to come. When he comes, maybe he will come this time. But at the moment, they haven't done anything for us.
Right. In the absence of the MC, there are other officials at the municipality. Are they not saying anything? Are they not offering any help to the distressed people?
No, apart from that, apart from that man working in our area, they haven't got anything. Even I was given opportunity for them to interview my MP, but he has not done anything about that. So for now, nobody has come to our aid.
Right. And then how about the traditional council? How are you mobilizing the people in these difficult times?
For now, my chief called them and then interviewed them about the situation now. And then because there are many, he cannot do anything about it. And it's like the whole house, like those who are affected, the whole house has collapsed. And then most of their languages have gone. So we are not doing anything yet, but we are yet to see what we can do for them.
Right. Thank you so much, Nana, for sharing this information with us. And the people of Evere Ajumorojura are appealing to authorities to come to their aid as continuous rainfall in the area has brought life to a standstill. They are yet to receive any aid from NADMO or the District Assembly. You're watching News Hour live on GTV and GBC News. We are right back after this break this day.
We shall tell our own stories, narrate our own details, watch the continent with our own spectacles and through our own lenses. We shall tell our stories better, the ups and downs, the pleasant and unpleasant without a slant. Stories from Africa, by Africans, told by Africans, understood by the world. All this and more within Africa on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:05 p.m. on GBC News. Within Africa with Maltiti.
Good afternoon, welcome. Time now for the business segment, and I'm Dorothy Ajamai. 15 businesses have received awards at an entrepreneurship gala in Accra. The We Do Ghana Awards applauds entrepreneurs for creating sustainable businesses and employment opportunities with the support of funds received from relatives in the diaspora and additional funds and business coaching from the project. Employment Development in Africa with the Diaspora, We Do Africa, is an initiative of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development implemented by GIZ. We Do Africa uses remittances from the diaspora to improve employment and income potential in 6 African countries, including Ghana. At the ceremony, the German ambassador to Ghana, Mr. Daniel Crew, said the We Do Africa project serves as a platform to strengthen the connection and collaboration between Europe and Africa.
Your investment will only materialize in success if the framework of doing business in Ghana is set right and the overall economic conditions are favorable to growth. And that is our common aim when we are in talks with the Ghanaian governments, when we are in talks with the IMF, with the World Bank and other institutions. It is how can we help to get Ghana back on track, on path of economic growth and recovery. This is what we are working on.
To date, 950 businesses across Ghana have benefited from financial support, tailored business coaching and networking. The awards category includes agribusiness, young entrepreneur, sustainability, tech and female entrepreneur awards. The country director, GIZ Ghana, Madam Regina Barbosa, said the combination of financial support through the diaspora and WIDU together with the business coaching has allowed entrepreneurs to turn their ideas into reality. The chief executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Mrs. Kosiyanki Aye, said the agency is happy to see the transformation of which the GEA has supported over 525 of the over 900 businesses across Ghana.
We were part of that design of WIDU, and I wish we could do so much with WIDU and so many more. From Accra all the way to Bongo, our BAC officers who are part of our structure ensured that they were training and coaching people and bringing people to understand what WIDU was about. That it wasn't only about remittances for frivolous or for consumption, but really it was for them to transform their businesses and bring hope to the families they had left behind.
Ghana is the second largest recipient of remittances in sub-Saharan Africa. In 2021, an estimated $4.5 billion was remitted. This is equivalent to 6% of the national GDP. Ghana has been warned by credit rating agency Fitch regarding the escalating interest cost on its domestic debt, even after securing a program with the IMF. Fitch's assessment raises doubt about the country's overall debt sustainability in the medium term. Interest rates on Ghanaian treasury bills have experienced an upward trajectory since plummeting to around 18% in March 2023, down from a high of 35%. This sudden surge has sparked apprehensions about a potential restructuring of short-term securities. Discussing Africa's sovereigns amid financing crunch, a senior director for emerging markets at Fitch cautioned Ghana and other African governments about the mounting interest costs associated with domestic markets. Emphasis was placed on the proportion of interest costs on domestic debt, which has been steadily increasing, casting doubts on the sustainability of Ghana's domestic debt obligations. In a separate analysis, Fitch highlighted the considerable losses that Ghanaian banks would have incurred in 2022 if a flexible treatment had been applied to the net present value calculation. The intervention by the Ghana Association of Banks helped curtail the anticipated losses for financial institutions. The domestic debt exchange program resulted in banks reporting net losses of approximately 6.6 billion cedis in 2022 due to significant write-offs attributed to bad debts. Recognizing the effectiveness of the Bank of Ghana's forbearance measures, a senior director of financial institutions responsible for Europe, the Middle East and Africa at Fitch commended the central bank for its proactive measures in mitigating the impact on the banking sector. In a move that has sent shockwaves through Ghana's seafood industry, the government is set to impose a staggering 1,573% increase in import taxes on frozen seafood. The United States Department of Agriculture warns that this exorbitant tax hike, equivalent to an upward adjustment from 15 cedis to approximately 251 cedis per metric ton, could disrupt the supply chain and lead to a decline in fish availability within the local market. To the complexity of the situation, the taxes are expected to be paid in US dollars, a currency currently in short supply within the Ghanaian economy. This additional strain on importers has made doing business in Ghana's major port of Tema increasingly unattractive, especially given the prevailing economic circumstances. The USDA's second quarter Foreign Agricultural Service report also highlights other challenges that could further impact seafood imports in the country. One such challenge is the elimination of the benchmark value discount policy, which has been a crucial factor in facilitating trade. Moreover, An increase in value-added tax poses an additional burden on importers. As a result of these tax measures, vessels are now opting to discharge their cargo at neighboring countries like Togo and Cote d'Ivoire, where goods can be transported across the border without incurring taxes. This circumvention strategy threatens to divert significant volumes of seafood imports away from Ghana, exacerbating the potential scarcity of fish in the local market. Nevertheless, despite these taxes hurdles, the area of Ghana's rapidly expanding hospitality industry, particularly the food services subsector, continues to make seafood imports an appealing prospect for traders. It is worth noting that Ghana heavily relies on imports to meet its fish and seafood demand. In 2022, the country imported approximately $145 million worth of seafood, representing a 13% decrease compared to the previous year. The top three seafood supplying nations to Ghana in 2022 were Mauritania, China, and Morocco. And that's it for the business segment. International news is next. Please do stay.